rolling balls.
Okay, we're talking about singing a little bit. So you had a career at singing for a short while.
First, you have to introduce yourself, and we'll circle back to my singing. So tell me who you are and anything else you'd like to share first off.
My name is Brendon O'Neal. I grew up in Malibu, California, and I do photography and film.
All right, very cool, short and sweet. So, what did you want to know about my singing career?
Oh yeah, it started off in high school and then
Elementary school.
Elementary school.
Yeah, elementary school. I thought I was great. Apparently, the teacher did not think I was as great as I thought I was. So I never got the solo parts. You know how you ever bring sings in your elementary school? So the kids would get like a little solo part, and they would go up and be like, no, 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 like walk up, and I wanted the solo. Never fucking got the solo. I tried out religiously, Mr. Matson or something like that. just kidding. It's with love. My teacher, I don't know where he is. If you know who you are, you know who you are. One day I'll find you. This sounds like threats. Great, I'm threatening people right off the bat.
With love.
Always. That's what makes it even better. So tell me more about your artistic career. You said photography, filming.
Yes. So when I was in elementary school, I saw a photo that my dad took, and I remember very vividly looking at this photo, and it was in Thailand. He was in the Air Force, and he had to go over to Thailand, do some stuff or whatever. So he took some really, really cool black and white images, and one of them was this old school car driving over this little bridge with the stream coming through, and it had like a perfect reflection. It was like a perfect just reflection, and I remember looking at that photo and just being like, wow, it's like taken back. You know when you see like a piece of art for the first time, or anytime really, and you like walk by it or you see it, you're hit with something, you're like, wow, that's cool. So I had that moment at a really early age, and he told me about photography and stuff, and his sister actually did photography as well. My Aunt Bonnie, she's amazing. And so at an early age, I was really like attracted to the photography vibes. And then in high school, I took a photography class and was learning how to develop my own images.
Yeah.
Which now people, they have no idea with their phones, what these kids have today.
Yeah.
They have the most powerful camera in their pocket that is like instant. Yeah. Whereas before in the film days, we'd have to treat solution and
I remember doing that.
Dip it and do all these fun
Developing
things.
negatives, do you ever do that?
Yeah. Do you ever do wet plate?
Yeah.
Wet plate's amazing. That is straight up like science.
Yeah.
Like you're making the solutions, you're putting silver and all this stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I know. You go through all the different trays that are in the red dark room, because you have like in the negative room it's pitch black. You cannot see anything. And then you have like the dark room where you have the little slide things, and then you agitate it, and you move it from solution to solution until you get to the end where it's the water bath, and then you hang it to dry. Correct?
Correct.
Oh my God, I remember.
Good times.
Yeah.
That was fun.
So you developed a passion for photography then?
Yes. And then, you know those cameras that were like, you could like get them in like any like grocery store? They had like a rubber band that had like, it was a waterproof, basically 35 millimeter camera, and you could like, it was like yellow. I remember this vividly. I still have it. I like saved it. But I remember when that camera came out, I would constantly buy those cameras, and we would go to the beach with my buddies, and I would shoot surfing shots. Yeah. Because we were like totally getting into surfing. And I just remember like developing that first roll of film and seeing an image of my friend in the barrel, in the wave. And I was like, I want to do this more and on a bigger scale for sure. This is incredible. So kept on working with those cameras. Went to college and studied photography and film at Santa Monica College. Kept shooting with the water, and now today I get to travel around with professional surfers, and I get to shoot them at Tahiti, Hawaii, here, and I had some really good success with one image, And I was talking to my friend about this the other day, and I think, you know, your dad had this same thing where one image or one piece of art can change someone's life
Yeah.
and trajectory forever.
Yeah, yeah.
And that image for me was this huge swell that came through Malibu. It was called Hurricane Marie, and the waves were ginormous. And it was crazy. I didn't have an underwater housing at the time, and I remember calling like various like different rental places, and I was like, hey, do you guys have this underwater housing for this camera? And they're like, sorry, you know, you're probably like the 100th person that's asked for that because of this crazy storm that's coming. And I was like, oh man. I was like, all right. And then he's like, you know what? Something just came in the rental house, but it's more for like deep water.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like very big and heavy and robust and just a ginormous housing, but it fit for my camera that I had. So I was like, I'll take it. So it wasn't a surf housing. It was more like a proper underwater housing, a big old thing. So I remember picking that up and figuring it out, like putting the camera. I've never shot it before, like never used the housing. So I'm like, the night before, I'm like fiddling with it. And then that morning, I'm driving to the beach and I'm seeing the biggest waves I've ever seen come through Malibu. It was, they called it the 40-year storm. It was like the biggest surf, like unbelievable, like jaw-dropping. Like people were stopping their cars on PCH in Malibu, like by the pier, and just literally like getting out of their cars and like, oh my God, like waves are breaking like in front of the pier. It was like crazy. So I keep going because I want to go to this one destination to get this shot that I think I can get there, because huge barrels, big open tubes, and I know that I could get a cool shot there. And it's morning time, so like the sun's rising, and I was like, oh, I could get this really cool shot. Fast forward, get to the beach, and the beach is packed. It's like so many people just like jaw-dropping, looking at what's going on. And I remember getting in the water and just being like, oh my God, like this housing is like, it's basically like swimming with like 30-pound weight, you know, like it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. And these waves are huge. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like basically like not use my arms, and I'm just going to kick and use my fins. So I'm kicking this huge housing through these really big waves. I see my buddy out there, Reef McIntosh, and professional surfer he's got like Wave of the Winter like awards. Like he's gnarly. He's like,
oh wow,
big deal. So like I'm like, okay, there he is. So I'm like trying to like swim into position for him, and I see other photographers, because like everyone and their mom's out trying to get this like, you know, legendary swell, get the shot. I'm out there swimming. Reef gets this wave, and I'm in like a perfect position with him, and I get the shot. And that shot right there single-handedly like changed my trajectory of like where I was going. Like it just like snowballed. I ended up traveling after that. So that shot, by the way, it got the double-page spread in Surfer Magazine, which is like a big deal. And that's something like, since I was a kid, I've always wanted to get to that level, either surfing or shooting, whatever. Like to get in Surfer Magazine was like, you were so cool. It was like the Bible of surfing. It was like a huge goal. And when that happened, it was like the best thing ever. And I did multiple shoots where I went like all over the world. I did documentaries. I've worked on some really big projects. And from the one shot, like one piece of art can change like your whole trajectory. And I had this conversation with my friend just the other day. Sorry if I'm just like...
No. Hey, you go.
Cut me off at any time. I'm just like I'm going off. But we're having this discussion because she's a painter, and she was doing these like interiors, like just painting like in this interior of this one restaurant or whatever. And someone saw it and was like, this is incredible. Like no one's doing like interiors like what you're doing right now. Like you should like keep doing this, and let's find you some like representation and like some clients. And next thing you know, that one piece of art that she made got so much attention that she won an award from that.
Oh, nice.
And then her career snowballed. And she was literally just like, one day it's just like, oh, I'm gonna paint this and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And then just like Wildfire.
Wildflowers, that would be an interesting
Wildflowers.
fire of flowers. Yeah, no, it is fascinating how one moment in time can drastically change the like whole trajectory of your life. Like I unfortunately had the snowball effect of like breaking both my legs and my back and my wrist all at the same time, and that totally changed the trajectory of my entire my entire life in a less fun-ish way.
Yeah, I would say so.
That usually brings people into like, what the fuck?
So do you want to elaborate more on that experience? And
Oh,
it's obviously led you to an amazing place where you are now, because with
Yeah.
everything that's going on, it sounds like so many positive things are happening from this.
yes, yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about how that experience snowballed into
Into a more
a
positive.
positive thing too?
Yeah. What's interesting, because it could have gone either way, right? I could have done nothing and allowed certain things to happen and not do anything about my injuries or to listen to doctors, because doctors wanted to like fuse my bones in my leg and do all this stuff. And I was like, that just doesn't feel like a smart decision. So like I had to go against a lot of doctors on my journey, and most people don't. And so I saw a lot of like shit happen, and I was like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, putting myself back together and like being determined and having that will to like live and to work on what I was working on, it did turn into the best situation of my life, because I'm now here with this foundation and met all the people on my journey because of what happened. Would I have still met some of the people had I not done it? Potentially. So it's questionable whether or not that I would have still continued on my mission with or without this experience. Because I've been circling around, people say it meant to be or this or that, and I'm like, that's interesting, but I still feel like would have still done the exact same thing had it not happened. But I don't know that. Like potentially, maybe not. I don't want to tempt the universe on a second round of that. Just like, yeah, mercy. Tap out. We're good. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I'm so grateful, and being able to get as well as I did in 2 years, and to have most people not even know that anything happened to me is.
You almost died. Like, it was gnarly.
Oh yeah, I almost died twice. So then I almost died at a rehab facility here in Burbank. I'm not going to name the rehab facility, but I ended up with a bladder infection, so they let me sit for 6 days with a bladder infection, and then that went septic, and I got really sick. But then they wouldn't take me to the emergency room, so I had to call 911. 911 came to the rehab and wouldn't take me because they thought I was being dramatic and not. They're like, oh, that's what happens with a surgery. Blah, blah. It was just 30 days out from the surgery, and they wouldn't take me. And I was like, I'm gonna die here. Like I can't.
Right.
911 wouldn't even take me. And so finally, on the third day, I got a hold of a doctor after calling many doctors, and he got an ambulance there. And when I got to the emergency room, my heart rate started to plummet. They had to put a neck IV called a mainline in, and then I ended up finding out that I was septic, osteomyelitis, which is a bone infection, E. coli, and MRSA.
Wait, this is like right after your surgery?
Yeah. This was like a good month and a half after.
Oh, gnarly.
And so, yeah, then that happened. So then they had to remove the metal out of this. So I had extra injuries, and the rest is history. But twice. There was actually a third death-ish thing, because things come in threes, but not necessarily related-ish. They're adjacent. So, death and me have done an interesting dance. Oh yeah, I got kicked in the head by my horse, and he cracked my helmet. That was number 3. I was like,
it's like my ultimate fear.
oh yeah. No,
Gnarly.
I fell in front of him, and I thank God I was wearing that helmet, because I looked at the helmet and I was like, he kicked me in the head. I was like, that would have been done. So that was number 3.
Gnarly.
Yeah, that was when I started riding again. And so it was just a friendly reminder that what I do is quite dangerous.
Definitely. Thank God for the helmet.
Yeah.
For sure. Can I tell you my interesting 3 things that have happened? Life or death? Some heavy. How long ago did that happen for you? Was that
Which one? This was all in the last 2 years.
The last 2 years?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And you're like hiking 12 miles?
Yeah.
She literally just said she like hiked 12 miles like yesterday or something. Like,
Monday.
What?
Monday, yeah. Up and down this hill. This is my meditation route. Like, I just walk up and down here and think about what I'm trying to create and do. And it's I know where I'm going, and I come back, and it just makes it longer.
Wow. Gnarly. Crazy. But helmet's important. Always wear a helmet, you guys.
Yes, yeah, helmets.
I wear my helmet when I'm shooting for water photography because
Oh, really?
the waves are so big and so dangerous, and they break in really shallow waves. This is something that a lot of people don't know. When you guys and girls see all these beautiful wave images of people surfing and whatnot, there's somebody with a camera like risking everything to put themselves in that position to where the wave is literally like breaking right there.
Jesus.
Like that's where you're trying to like basically tuck in and like let the wave go over and get the shot. So you get the worst beat downs that you've ever experienced. It's like, how do you describe it? It's like a dump truck of gravel just being poured on you and then just like pounded to the reef.
It's like being inside a washing machine.
Washing machine with like 5 cars hitting you at like the same time.
That sounds...
Definitely on the bigger waves, yes, for sure. But the helmet is super key. I almost drowned in Tahiti, actually. Big day, wave broke in front of me, and I was like that oh my god moment where you know you're totally screwed. You just you're just gonna go with it. You're just like, okay, I'm totally screwed. So I like grabbed my camera and I like tucked into a ball, like tried to go under it, and the wave just tumbled me right to like the inside where it's shallower reef now, and now the waves are breaking like
right on
no
top
water,
of it.
like, and it's sharp reef. So I'm like, one hand my camera's like this, and the other hand I'm trying to scoop to the side and basically like starfish off the reef. Thank God I was able to get through the one, and then swam my ass off as hard as I could to get through another one, and then another one broke, and I was at that point I was like, oh my god, dude, this is super intense, because I've already got the biggest beat downs in my energy. And by the way, I've also been swimming for the past like 5 hours plus.
Oh gosh.
And then this happens, you know, so you're a little tired.
Fatigue.
And I was like, oh no, this is really bad. But then thank God the Tahitian Water Patrol, big ups to you guys, came in on the jet ski, scooped me up, took me out to safety. It was a close call because I was gassed, like no more air, complete oxygen gone, just like. But I held the camera.
Yeah, I
held on to the camera, and I got some great shots.
It's funny what we do for our things.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I gotta keep it safe. It's like, okay, life and limb doesn't matter at the moment because I need my thing.
Yeah, passion prevails.
Yes.
So that was my one thing, and then the other, you said it comes in threes.
Yeah, usually.
So I come back home, and there was this festival in Las Vegas, the Route 91 festival, and I was on stage when the shooting started.
Jesus.
Super heavy. And that experience, oh my God, just like put me in a whole nother category of like life appreciation. To be here talking with you and just sharing some stories and like taking negatives and turning into positives, like that's basically life. But that situation, it was a game changer for sure. My buddy and I had to run off stage right. We had to run into the crowd. People are getting shot like all around us. It was like, so you just went from partying, okay, listening to country music, like literally hugging, laughing, and then to like, you're now in a war zone and people are getting shot all around you. It was like, oh my God. So you're like, your brain's like trying to comprehend like what's going on. It's like, okay, so there's a shooter. Where's the shooter? All I know is that the sound was so loud that it was like echoing off like all the buildings around. So it literally felt like we were getting shot from like everywhere. Yeah. So people were like, they didn't know what to do. The gates were closed because, you know those, like when you go into an event and the like metal like things that turn around, they only go one way.
Reminds me of Carrie. Do you remember they locked the
school?
Oh my God.
Yeah, totally. fucking so gnarly. So people were like climbing the fences because they couldn't get out. So everyone was funneled to go out the parking lot direction, which was like a sea of people just getting trampled and shot. And so we hid behind this cop car, waited for a couple like bursts to go. This guy had 100-round clips.
Well, they usually come prepared, don't they?
Fuckers.
I don't mean to make light of something.
He was prepared for sure.
Yeah.
He had 100-round clips.
That's
It just wouldn't stop. So they actually used my footage because I was actually shooting at the time and documenting this whole experience for a series that's out right now. It's called 11 Minutes. You can watch it. It's on Paramount Plus.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's that again is about positive, heroic situations that came about from that because people were doing incredible things. They were running into like the fire to help people, grab people, there was a lot of heroic stories that you didn't get to really hear when that whole thing happened, which I think is cool now that they have this that you can watch now and hear the people's stories. So yeah, that was super heavy. And then the worst fires in Malibu that ever happened, the Woosley fires, it was basically like a nuclear bomb went off in the valley and just absolutely decimated everything to the ocean. That was intense. I remember going to my neighbor's house because he told me that your place is done. It's going to go. It's like, just come over here and help us out. I was like, fuck, okay. All right. So go to his house. The fire comes and it's like you're hearing, first of all, you're hearing what's like a freight train coming. And then you're hearing like propane tanks like going off one by one, and you know that it's coming closer by like hearing the propane tanks that are like igniting and bursting and stuff. So that again was like another war zone. It was like, dude, war zone. Fire comes. We had this clearance from our property because we were like next to like private land area, so there's like a bunch of just open area. But we had it like trimmed really well. It was like a football field of clearance. But the fire just came over that clearance. Fires have its own like living, breathing organism. It's its own thing. It does things that are like unimaginable. It's like fire tornadoes, like spitting out debris that's just like, what is happening right now? So we hide behind my buddy's house because he's like, get behind the house. Fire comes around us. At that point, there's like no oxygen. A lot of people, they just pass out when the fire comes because there's just no oxygen. And at that point, I was feeling that again. I was like, oh my gosh. It felt like, again, like in Tahiti, at least I could like go under the water, you know, when the danger is coming. But with a fire, you're not going
under the fire.
You're not going under the fire. It's like, it's coming. And it's like, that was wild. But we survived. We're here again to talk story. Very thankful, blessed.
Yeah, that's not what, but
wild, crazy. So that was my. This is faux wood. It's very nice faux wood.
Z Gallery.
Big up Z Gallery. Yeah, things come in threes.
They do.
The last three for me for life or death were. I think I'm good now for my threes in life or death. I think I've exercised that enough. But now, yeah,
that's what I say. I was like, I call mercy on those kinds of experiences.
But those experiences shape who we are today, right? It's important to have really hard experiences in life because it puts things in perspective. It lets you relate to other people. I can have a conversation with other people who've gone through really traumatic situations, and I can relate to them. We can talk through it. That's another thing too, like getting help from a traumatic situation. Like, what's the best thing for you? Is it, riding horses? Is it like outdoors, or like, what is it for you? Because people like, after my experiences, people are like, yo, Brendon, you got to go talk to someone. Like, you just go get a therapist and da-da-da-da. I was like, all right, whatever, I'll talk to someone. It's good to talk about that stuff, but there's only so much you can talk about, I feel like. At least for me, like, I can get it off my chest and then, like, talk with someone, but at the end of the day, I would prefer to actually talk with my family or friends because they, like, know who I am, and I think some of the people are good, you know,
Yeah.
the therapists and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But it's like, it's hard to explain, but just for me personally, I like was able to talk with like family and friends was really good. And then outdoor activities for me was like the best.
Yeah.
Like just clearing the mind. And that's what started for me for like surfing too. Like I remember my parents were like getting a divorce and I was just like, I didn't want to hear the noise. I just wanted to go to the beach. So I just like grabbed my board and would just go to the beach. And that was like my sanctuary where like nothing but this moment mattered. And that was like positive and healing.
Mm.
So I think for positive healing stuff, for me, it's been definitely nature oriented. And then there's a lot of like medication pills like they push on you too. They're like, you know, oh, you're depressed, you should have this. And does that really help? I don't know.
No, I used those before my accident. I was way before it. I was heavy onto the antidepressants and anti-anxieties, but then I also got addicted to like benzos and painkillers and all sorts of fun stuff. But I was off of those at that point. What's interesting is I didn't really talk to anybody. I remember one night I was slamming into the ground every hour on the hour, and I was terrified. What I later came to discover was actually I turned it into me opening up to like my metaphysical like abilities of being able to like channel energy.
Physically falling down or like mentally like having
it felt like
breakdown?
I was slamming into the ground without slamming into the ground.
Gnarly.
Yeah. And so like, but I tend to go into like hermit mode. I've always kind of been like a solo rider. And so like, I just kind of muscled through it. It would have, I think, been beneficial had I talked to people sooner. But I chose a lot of like isolation and just physical movement. Physical movement and the horses were really, really beneficial. And I also make light of everything. Like couple days after my accident, I made a joke about falling off something to the lady in the hospital. And she like looked at me and was like, did she really just make a falling joke?
Can I make a joke or not a joke? Can I make a comment to the humor aspect?
Yeah.
When we were going through the fire, it was like life or death situation, and one of the guys that was helping out, he literally like he made me laugh during this heavy moment, and he was like, Brendon, do you have any hot dogs or buns or anything? Let's like. I was like, oh my god, dude, you just. But it's like, humor is so important.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the Navy SEALs and other like high profile training stuff, like they use that because when you're in a gnarly situation, you can't just like break down and freak out. You need to
lighten it up, diffuse it a little bit.
And the humor is like everything.
Yeah. No, that's my grandfather told me that. He's like, if you can't laugh at yourself, you know, you're not doing it. That's like with my reels, like all those like weird gestures and stuff. I'm like, I'm just gonna make myself fucking laugh because that's why I was trying to fluff myself up. I learned that fluffer is not a good term. And so like making myself laugh has been like a big deal for me. And so like I think that, if you ask me, was one of the major things that helped me get through some of the really intense parts of like learning how to walk again, learning how to go to the bathroom again, learning how to like sit up straight, having everything be horribly uncomfortable. Like, and not like I was extremely active. Like I would do yoga and do all this, and then I had no flexibility, no movement. Like, and
it's humbling being injured.
Yeah. And so it takes you to a place inside yourself that it's like, you're like, this is it. Like, am I gonna push through it? Is it gonna be forever fucked? I was like, and it just never really entered into my mind that was a possibility. I remember when the doctor told me about after my back surgery, he was like, your spinal cord was out. I don't know how your legs are moving. I was like,
was out.
Well, yeah. I was like, thank you.
Jeez.
All right, cool. And so, but like I was listening to Joe Dispenza at the time, and so like for me it was just not. I had already like I think I had trained myself to just not like those are not options. Like it's just we're gonna go. My legs work, but I was so close because I have numbness, a like subtle numbness here and here.
Nerve damage, or
that's how close I was to losing the ability to walk. That I have surfaced. So it like we're talking hairs away from no legs. Well, not I'd have them, but not the use of them.
That
So
is so wild.
yeah, and I had a tiny bruise on my chin to remind me also how close I was to potentially like doing that. And then when I went to the ICU, I got to listen to a conversation of someone next to me who they're like, "Mister, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand." And I was just like, what hell? And then I overheard the conversation of like someone going, "Well, he's not going to ever wake up again." Like, the fuck is this fucking place?
Gnarly. Jeez.
Yeah, so I was like, I've entered hell. Like, this is it. Like, I was like, I found it. But I actually realized that wasn't hell. I realized all this stuff wasn't hell. The hell that I experienced was that on ayahuasca, which was the like absolute list. Everything was gone. Like, I was like, you know what? This is better than that hell that ayahuasca took me to. Because I was like, that's legit. Like, I'd rather be here, like, you know, having to struggle and suffer and be in pain than to not have any of that stuff exist. And so, like, to me, that was the scariest part, because that's actually the trauma, not the physical stuff. The physical stuff wasn't. It was where ayahuasca took me to that has been the thing that has been something that reoccurs. Just like last night, I had that feeling come up of like the end of everything. I was just gonna instantly evaporate. And so, if you ask me, that mental trauma of not even the jump, but just where ayahuasca took me is been the hardest thing to navigate mentally. Yeah.
Heavy. And as far as like PTSD, you mentioned you have moments where you literally feel like you're falling.
Well, the falling stuff is actually cleared. Only because I realized it was my ability to channel different energies. But the ayahuasca thing, I have some unresolved, I don't have an understanding of it, and I don't believe I ever will. And so it's more of like, the last thing I can get to is like, I'm here, and that's the greatest thing that I could ever be, because I'm still here. Like, it hasn't happened, so I just have to accept in the present moment that I'm here, and that's it. Like, I don't get any farther. There's no, it's just like, and to me, it's, you know, that's what I get from it. You know, I appreciate every single moment that I am breathing, and I've cried tears of joy because I'm actually alive, just for the fact of being alive.
Yeah, for sure. As far as to like the rest of the people out there, what would you recommend to them as far as having like an experience like ayahuasca or something like that? Because I know whenever I'm having a good time with my friends, it's usually like, if I take something, it'll be like I'm in a good mood with good people and like a good environment. But I've also had, you know, other experiences where, you know, mentally I'm thinking about something that isn't very positive. Everything's amplified when you're on drugs and hallucinogens, right? Yeah. So ayahuasca is a powerful, potent substance.
Yep.
And if you're gonna do that, if you were to do that again, or recommend to other people, would you say maybe being at a positive place? But people do it to get help and healing too. So there's like this, I don't know, because I hear stories that people are going through like whatever they're going through, and it really helped them, and it purges you. It gets like, I've heard of like this purge where people,
you shit yourself or you throw up.
I don't want to do that. I'm losing my marbles and people are shitting themselves and throwing up, and I'm like, for me, that's too much for me. I'd rather do mushrooms and not shit my pants and throw up on everyone. That's just me.
No, I'm with you. I didn't actually end up, the 3 ceremonies that I went into, I never actually purged any of it, which I find really fascinating, because the first time I did it, there was definitely purging, but then fast forward to a year later, me doing it, none of the purging. But it's interesting, I don't make recommendations on any of it, like, and I've tried all of them. For me, it's if somebody wants to do something and they're going to do it, like, I don't know what's best for anybody. You know what's best for you.
Totally.
And so you can only make those judgment calls. I can share my story about what happened to me, and, you know, but I don't use it as a way to influence. For me, I want to just, this is my story, this is what happened, this is how it went. And so, like, I don't like to make any of those kinds of calls, only because that would be disrespectful in saying that I knew more than somebody else, which I don't feel inherently is true, you know, because you know you best. me to tell you, you should try, LSD because I feel like it would help you open your mind. The fuck am I telling you what you should be doing with your life? That's the energy that I get because I've been down that road where that video I showed you when I was younger, before my accident, I was trying to tell people how to live their life. And I feel a lot of social media influencers and a lot of the spiritual community, they're all trying to tell people how to be more spiritual, how to be more this, or how to do this. And I go, that's not, I feel like that's for people who are following someone because they're looking for answers and haven't yet discovered their own inherent, ability to find their own answers. Maybe, or they're acting out, whatever play that this person wants to do. I don't know,
Yeah.
But it just doesn't, it doesn't feel right because at the retreat that I was at, there was actually a social media influencer there who I was actually meant to, one of the reasons I went was to actually talk to him and kind of challenge some of the things he was telling people because he was saying to them as a matter of fact. And so I was like, everything is you don't know what you know. When you realize you know absolutely nothing, then how can you know anything? And so when you get to that point, you go, well, it's guessing, it's speculation. We're all just making relative sense out of nonsense. This isn't a table, but we call it a table because it's going to make relative sense to you and I so we can have a conversation about this thing. But is it this thing? Well, we call it a thing, but is it a thing? I don't actually know. So after that, to me, it's all fair game with anything you want to come up with. That's why it's arguing with me is kind of yeah, we can go in circles for hours. But it's not really an argument because I'll agree with you and then have a different point and it'll be it's both.
Totally.
so it's I think it was with Clark. We were walking through I think it was in Santa Barbara, and we pointed out the car. There was some car. I was like, I want to argue with you, and he's like, oh, that's a cool car. And I was like, no, it's not. And I was like, because that's the only, I couldn't figure out how to argue with him because I can no longer really argue with people because I see their perspective, but I also understand that I have an inherently important opinion for myself and you do too. And so now to me, arguing is a joke. So it's oh.
I like that. People are just so upset. Sam's just laughing in their face. Ha ha. Just making them more upset.
Yeah. I noticed that my laughter sometimes does inspire people to get uncomfortable, and it's only because I've learned to laugh when I have uncomfortable feelings. So I
think laughter is it's like a scientific defense mechanism for if you're uncomfortable or if it's a nervous habit. Laughter, there's something there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. My real estate agent, she's like, are you laughing at me? And I was like, no. And I started laughing more, and I was like, oh, shit. I was like, all right, oh, no. And then she was asking me, why am I laughing? And I was like, I really had no good reason. And I was like, and so I had to really think about it. And I was like, oh, it's because I'm kind of uncomfortable with whatever I'm feeling from her, but I couldn't articulate it at the time. So her uncomfortability, my uncomfortability, I start laughing, then make her more uncomfortable. And it's just it's this weird circle, thing. And so, yeah, I definitely have to just either have everybody know that I just laugh anytime, anywhere, and it's not to be taken personally. And if you do, you can let me know, and I'll take note.
For sure. When you were a kid growing up, did you grow up in a family that was open? Well, it seems like with a lot of the artists and everything, they were pretty open-minded to a lot. Were your parents pretty open?
In some ways, my dad, my first email, as I was telling Milo the other day, is Fritz the Cat. It was actually the very first rated R cartoon. My dad showed me this when I was about 12, 13. And this is pornographic, drugs, everything. And he's just like, oh yeah, it's great, here, watch it. And I'm like, as a kid, I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And I made my email address that. And I'm looking back and I'm like, what the fuck was...
Was that him trying to talk about the birds and the bees with you?
Oh,
Here, just watch
he
this.
would never do that. But that could have been. That could have been. I don't know.
That's gnarly.
Yeah. Both my parents were kind of like, my mom's an Aquarius, and if you're into the astrology thing, like they're kind of like, do you? And no, there's no like, they're just like, yeah, free spirit. Good. And so like there was no structure. And so like one of the things my mom, I love my mother. She was so wonderful. She typed all my papers, so I never really learned how to really type.
I must admit, my mom did help me with a few essays for sure.
Yeah.
She was really fast on the keys. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm still not. That's why I made a whole book on my cell phone because I don't type. So I went to the track and walked for hours. I did it in 6 days and typed it all out on my phone while listening to music and walking in circles. Yeah.
nice.
So.
And what about spirituality? Were they open to that, or were you led down a certain way?
Not when I was younger. There was no like religion per se, but like
Were you celebrating holidays or
Christmas? Yeah, but it was more like presents and food. And so, yeah, but my dad later on, one day when I was older, it was I think in my early, like I think I was 30 or something. I'm now 35. And so I remember we were at dinner and all of a sudden he's just like, oh yeah, I've been to the moon. And like says it like totally straight face. And I was
Your
like,
dad said this?
I was like, and he's not sarcastic because he's kind of like Aspergery, so sarcasm doesn't operate. And he was just like, no. And he's like, yeah, I like went through the ceiling and went out and then went to the moon. And I was like, this motherfucker astral travels, and he just has he's been in his own isolated hole that to him this is just the natural world. And yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I've talked to my parents, I've seen them, they're dead. So yeah, he's on one in that sense where I had no idea when I was younger that he was operating in that space. But then when I got older and I got into this kind of stuff, and then he's like just matter of fact says this kind of stuff, I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense.
Have you had an out-of-body experience?
Oh yeah.
Can you do it?
Not on command. I'm not that skilled. But I get most nights I get holographic visuals, and so they're like visions of different things. When I fast and stuff, those become much stronger. And I can channel lots of different energy. I've traveled to different places in and out of dreams in an interesting. They're more visceral feeling than like in a dream where it can kind of almost feel like a void where these almost feel fleshy. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had two.
Yeah.
Yeah. One, the first time that happened to me, I thought I died. I was like, wait, what is going on? I think I was like 20 at the time. I was like, what is going on? Like, because I just lay down on the bed and I was like, I'm just going to just chill and just relax for a moment. And then the next thing I know, not my physical body's on the bed, but I'm like leaving my body. And like, I heard this weird like buzzing sound. It was the craziest sound ever. It was like, I can't explain it, but it sounded like shearing light is the only way. Like you're like breaking through a porthole or something. Yeah. I heard this sound. I'm like, wait a second. And I'm trying to move. I can't move. I can't wake up. And I'm like completely paralyzed, but I'm like floating. It was this weirdest sensation. I remember saying to myself, like, whatever's going on, I am not ready for this. Like, I want to go back. I have no idea what's happening right now, but I just want to go back. And I remember like moving like my pinky or something. I was like, oh my God, yes. Okay, I'm back. But I still can't move. I'm still like paralyzed. And I'm like trying to move my whole body. I can't move my whole body. I like start moving my hand more, and then like, okay, then finally like I start coming to. I remember I couldn't stand up. I remember crawling down the stairs on my hands and knees, weeping to my mom and being like, Mom, I just died. Like, I don't know what she's like, no, you didn't die. I've heard about this before. It's like astral projection or something. I'm like, astral what? I like go on the computer. I'm like, what just happened? And then sure enough, astral projection. And these monks in the Himalayas, that's what they're doing. They're just like, psh, piecing out and like going around doing all
Yeah.
their thing. Like, how do you live in the Himalayas with no food and it's like freezing cold? They're like not in the physical body, I feel like, that often. I feel like they're just flying around doing their thing.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's my out of body experience. It happened again.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was the second time like?
Not as strong as the first, but
No?
it was definitely the buzzing, the feeling like. And then I learned there's a process that you flex like every muscle in your foot to your calf, to your knees, to your legs, to your stomach, to your chest, all the way through your body. You flex it really hard for 10 seconds and then you relax and you do this breath work. So basically you're like detaching from your physical body. You're allowing it to detach from your physical body by relaxing it so much. That's what I did my research on.
Yeah. I did not.
And then listening to music and then just getting completely relaxed and then focusing on surrounding yourself with white light. Try that, you guys. See what happens a couple times.
See, I go into like black darkness. Like I'm like I'm like total dark.
Oh, the room's got to be dark for sure.
Yeah, I don't
need
think
to be
about light though. Uh-oh.
Do a little research. There's a little thing. Say,
We gotta add some light in there. It's a little
Yeah.
dark.
no, surround yourself with white light.
All right.
Yeah.
I might burn up. I used to make that joke that when I
where'd she
entered
go?
a church. I was like, I'm just gonna catch fire and burst it.
Where's the holy water?
Yeah, no. But yeah, do you have any final things you would like to share?
Jeez, that's it. She's just cutting me off right
I am,
there.
I am.
And we're done with you. We're
Yeah.
just going to cut right there.
Yes, I told you I burst into flames.
And she's gone. No, that was it. Thank you so much for having me. That was my first podcast. I hope I didn't just go off the rails every which way into Sunday, but it was such a pleasure.
Yeah,
and I
same.
hope we can chit-chat again. And all the best on all your endeavors and this amazing event that's happening and coming up.
Yes, yeah.
Great events happening. Can you just tell the kids real quick what's going on?
The kids.
And adults.
Yes, June 17th, we're having an arts and wellness event. There's going to be an ancient crystal skull, a magician, and so much more that I'm not sharing. And it's all free. It's all free. There's no, I'm not after anything other than your time and attention, I guess. So that's my goals in life, time and attention. My love language. Although I can't speak. See, no language.
No, I heard it. It sounded like love language.
Yeah, it was muffled, but thank you. So yes, thank you, and thank you, Mila.
Milo on the ones and twos. That a boy.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for holding my hand through that.